Leading off, as usual, is Navy and head coach Ken Niumatalolo. The midshipmen are 5-1 overall, 3-1 in the American Athletic Conference. Navy was in action this past Saturday at Memphis. Memphis won the game 30-27. Up next for the midshipmen, they'll be in action this Saturday against UCF. That will be at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports Network. Coach, thank you for joining us on the call today. If you would take a minute to tie up the game at Memphis, please, and what you expect as you return home on Saturday to face UCF.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing loss, going on the road to play Memphis. And you got to tip your hat to, Mike, Coach Norvell and his staff and their program. They did a really good job. They played well and, able to come up with the victory. Just super disappointed, with the way we played. I think 5 turnovers is the most turnovers we've had in almost 15 years. We had a roughing the kicker penalty that we had just, things that are pretty uncharacteristic of us, just, that many turnovers, untimely penalties. We've led the country in the last decade in least amount of penalties. So disappointed the way we played. But, like I said, tip your hat to Memphis. They played well. We got to move on. We got no time to, wallow in your misery. You got to move on because we got, playing a team that beat the team that just beat us. And so we recognize that this is going to be a tough challenge because we know how good Memphis is. And, UCF beat them. So this is going to be a tough game. Coach Frost has done a really nice job in just 2 years there. And, how quickly he's changed the culture there. You can see how hard their guys are playing. And they've bought into what they're doing, all 3 phases. Kenzie is, a heck of a quarterback. We try to recruit him here at the Naval Academy, so we know caliber player he is. Also a great kid, comes from a great family. And we're going to have our hands full. We're going to have our hands full stopping them. Going to have our hands full trying to move the ball. They're undefeated for a reason, and it's going to be a tough challenge for us.
Take questions now for Coach Ken Niumatalolo from Navy. Hit *1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Trace Tralco with Nightline.
Hey, Coach. 9 players scored for UCF in the win over East Carolina Saturday. You may not be able to stop the offense, but what can you do to disrupt UCF's potent offense?
Our plan is always the same: try to keep them on the sideline. Try to possess the ball, try to keep them off, keep them on the sideline, and just try to do our best, try to come up with as good game plan as we can, try to slow down a little bit. I thought our defense played really well this past week against Memphis. We gave up 5 turnovers and, put our defense in tough spots, and I thought our defense played really well. This Memphis team has scored 70 points the week before. And, I thought we did some good things on defense. So, we'll try our best, try to come up with a great game plan on defense, and on offense, try to possess the ball the best we can. It's going to be easier said than done because they have a really good defense, and try to keep their offense on the sidelines.
One more question. What did Memphis show you defensively that you think was effective against your offense Saturday?
They just played well. They played well. You just got to give them credit. They played well. Just, they're in a 8-man front, they just played well. You got to tip your hat to them, because Ball had a good plan, and they played well.
Thank you, Coach.
We'll take our next question from Bill Wagner with Baltimore Sun Media Group.
Good morning, Kenny.
The Wags.
Hey, in a way, I know you probably want to play the weakest team in the conference, but in a way, this is a great opportunity for you. You've got a ranked team coming into your own stadium. What better way to bounce back than to beat one of the best teams in the conference? Do you look at it that way?
Well, I'm looking at, first and foremost, we have to play better. It's exciting to come home. We're tough to beat at home. At home, we play well at home. Our fans have been great. It's been like any team, you have a home field advantage, and we've actually played really well at home, and so that's definitely a plus. But we need to play better. From last week, We just need to play better. I thought against Air Force we played well on offense, not so good on defense. And last week we played well on defense, not so well on offense. So hopefully we can put it together. I mean, we have to against a team like UCF. I mean, they're obviously, ranked, beat Memphis, who beat us. So, again, this is going to be a really tough challenge for us.
Lastly for me, I mean, obviously Zach with 37 carries is a very high number, and clearly he's a great weapon and has been all season. But would you like to see a little more diversity, a little maybe spread it amongst a little more folks, or is that just kind of how the game went this past week that it ended up being 37 carries?
No, I want to see us take care of the ball. I don't want to see 5 turnovers. Those numbers don't concern me. It's the 5 turnovers that concern me.
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Okay, thank you.
And do we have other questions for Coach Niumatalolo, please? Star 1 on your telephone keypad, if so.
We'll take our next question from Joey Knight from Tampa Bay Times.
Coach, I know it's been several weeks since you played Tulane, but could you tell me just what makes their version of the triple option distinctive or effective?
Coach Fritz has been doing it for a long time. They're, really good zone option team. Actually a lot of their gun stuff we studied when we try to put in some of our guns option stuff. He's been doing, like I said, doing it for a long time, but, he's a little different schematically than we do. We're a true veer triple option. They're a zone option team. The principles are the same from the standpoint you have you can hand the ball off, or the quarterback can keep it, or you got a pitch, or you have a third option, whether it's you throw it in on the edge, where, we're a veer triple option. So from the standpoint that you got 3 options, we're the same, but the way we block are totally different. They do a really good job of it, and like I said, in putting in our gun stuff, we studied a lot of them in off seasons over the years.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
And we're joined by SMU coach Chad Morris. As we said, the Mustangs are 4-2 overall, 1-1 in the American, coming off an open week and facing Cincinnati Saturday, 4 Eastern, 3 Central on ESPNU. Coach, appreciate you joining us on the call today. Let us know how your open week went as you prepare for Saturday's matchup at Cincinnati, please.
Well, we just had an opportunity last week to kind of go back and get some guys healthy. Not that we were too beat up. We've been fairly healthy most of the season, knock on wood, but had a chance to go back and get some guys refreshed, recharge, and reflect on the first half of the season. A lot of self-scout, a lot of self-study, and then working on technique, and that's kind of what you do during an open week. And we did not have a day off. We don't believe in days off around here, but we did have opportunity for our guys to recharge and reload and recover, and so. Came back in, was on the field last night, and guys were in great spirits, ready to get back to work and get ready for a one-game season this week.
We'll take questions for Coach Chad Morris, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue, then the operator will introduce you. And again, Star 1 for questions. Coach, I'll ask you the first one, if I may, and see if I can get some people started. 4-0 at home this year, 0-2 on the road this season. What's been the difference for your team as you get ready for another road game?
Well, I think that's something we've got to do a really good job of. We've got to play well on the road, and we've been unable to finish games out on the road right now. I mean, obviously we lost to TCU and then went down, had opportunities against Houston, and could not pull it out in the fourth quarter against those guys. And so, that's just something that we've got to get over. That's part of growing the program and getting better. As we've got to learn how to play on the road. Last year we played well on the road, and so this will be our third opportunity, and looking forward to a great challenge that we have in front of us.
And we've been joined now by UConn head coach Randy Edsall. Huskies are 2-4 overall, 1-3 in the American Athletic Conference. UConn was in action this past Saturday at Temple, and UConn won the game 28-24. Up next for the Huskies will be this Saturday against Tulsa. It will be at Pratt & Whitney Stadium in East Hartford for a noon Eastern time start on ESPNU. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the win at Temple and then what you expect as you return home on Saturday to face Tulsa for the first time?
Well, I thought that, we played, our first complete game of the year where, we got our guys played for the full, 60 minutes, and I thought we played hard and, which gave us the opportunity to win and, just fought throughout the game and came away with the win on the road, which is good and hard to do. So pleased with that. And now we know that as we go into this week, playing Tulsa, they're coming off a big win versus Houston, a very talented, football team. And what we have to do is we just have to continue to work real hard each and every day and work to get better, and then go out and be ready to play them on Saturday.
We'll take questions for Coach Edsall, please. Hit star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from John Altavia with Hartford Courant.
Good morning, Coach Edsall.
Hey, John.
Hey, you showed a tremendous amount of emotion on the podium after the game, and I was just kind of wondering how the win last Saturday compared to some of the other big wins you've had in your career.
No, I mean, I think the thing is, it's just that, anytime you win, it's good, but, you just want to make sure that the message that you're getting across to these young men who haven't had a lot of success, is reaching home. And sometimes you have to express that message in a way that, it's truthful and it's heartfelt, and maybe direct and to the point. And I just felt really good for our players that they were able to get that win and to fight through some of the things that we've had to fight through. You come off a game where, defensively, we gave up a lot of points the previous game, and, the defense went out there and really did a good job. They had a pick six. They held them to 5 of 15 on third down, 0 for 3 on fourth down. When the game was tight there at the end, 28-21, Temple had a first and goal on the 3. And our kids rose up and stopped them, make them kick a field goal to keep it 28-24, and we were able to win it. And so, you just feel good, for the kids, and you're just happy that the messages that you're telling them and giving them that it kind of sunk in a little bit, at least for that game.
Thank you, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take our next question from Ronnie Woodward with the Greenville Daily Reflector.
Hey, Coach, you actually just kind of touched on a lot of what I was going to ask, but you spent the last few weeks on this call talking about, some close losses and, having to talk about that. How nice was it to get a win, as you said, and experience that, as you're trying to get your first year back at that program?
Well, again, you got it. The one thing that I've learned throughout the years and having had the experience of being a head coach before, I mean, there's a lot of things when you come into a program that hadn't won in 6 years. There's a lot of things that you have to change, and, you have to be patient. But, I think the sooner that players understand the things that you're trying to do, it's all about making them better and making them achieve at a level maybe they didn't think that they could achieve at, and also being upfront and honest and being truthful with them. And, it might hurt some of them at first, but if they don't know, if they don't know that what you're telling them is the cold hard facts of life and reality, they're never gonna be able to achieve at a level that they never thought they could achieve at. So, that's the thing that I think, when you see it, and then when they get it, it makes you feel good that that hey, it might have taken me a little bit longer for them to get them to understand that you got to play hard. I mean, you got to play really, really hard for 60 minutes, and that doesn't even guarantee you the opportunity. That doesn't guarantee you a win. It'll at least give you an opportunity to win. But when you're not playing for a full 60 minutes, you got no chance. So, that's again, I think the thing that's neat, that, they just have to understand that, and because you know what, it's no different in life. It's like I said on Saturday, it's no different in life. If you're gonna go on and be successful, you gotta work hard each and every day. You gotta expend energy, and then you gotta prepare yourself each day, and respect the game and don't cheat the process. And if you do that, you can have success.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
And do you have other questions for Coach Edsall, please? Star 1 on your telephone keypad if so. But for the benefit of some of our regulars who aren't on the call today, we have our basketball media days taking place today, so that's taking a few people out of pocket. Can you give us maybe your thoughts on some of the specific challenges that Tulsa presents as you get ready for the game on Saturday?
Well, again, they're a very up-tempo team, that plays extremely fast. They, have two running backs, D'Angelo Brewer and Shamari Brooks, that, both went over 100 yards last week. And, they made the change there at, quarterback with Luke Skipper in there, and looks like it, paid off for them, and they're aggressive on defense. So, again, just like, every game is a challenge, and every game is a game within itself. And, for us to have an opportunity to win, we're going to have to play for a full 60 minutes, and we're going to have to correct some of the mistakes that we made last week, because, again, this is a talented football team that we're going to be going against.
Hey, and we've been joined by Coach Scottie Montgomery from ECU. The Pirates are 1-6 overall, 1-3 in the American Athletic Conference. ECU was in action last Saturday at UCF. UCF won the game 63-21. Up next for ECU will be this Saturday. They take on BYU at Dowdy-Fickell Stadium, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports Network. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the game at UCF, please. And we expect you to return home Saturday to face BYU.
Yeah, thank you. Went against a really, really talented and good, well-coached football team at UCF, one of the best teams in the country. There's no question about it. Their overall team speed was a little bit much for us in a lot of situations. We did have some guys to go out and compete at a really, really high level. I thought Davon Grayson for us gave us everything he had. Darius Penix, Aaron Ramsewell, and Tank Robinson also did a good job for us. Moving forward, we got a big challenge this week against BYU for homecoming. Looking forward to seeing all of our fans in Dowdy-Fickell Stadium come out and get it roaring and get going in an early way. And we got to come out and we got to strike early.
We'll take questions for Coach Scottie Montgomery, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Ronnie Woodward with the Greenville Daily Reflector.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Scottie, I know we've talked this year a lot about ECU's schedule and it being really challenging. It looks like BYU is faced a similar situation. Are both teams kind of similar in that aspect when you kind of look at that and break down the teams that both of y'all have played and everything?
Well, I can't really speak, but they if it's similar or just alike, but what I'll say is that they've had a tough schedule. I mean, just look at it. I mean, who plays, LSU, Wisconsin, Mississippi State, Boise, teams of those likes, all in the first 6 weeks. That's quite a schedule to have to play, especially when you're trying to get yourself going every week and all the injuries that go with playing physical teams like those teams. I mean, you're talking LSU, Wisconsin, Mississippi State, 3 of the more physical teams in the entire country. So they've had a really, really tough schedule.
And then with this matchup, I know when ECU went there to BYU a few years ago, they talked a lot about the travel and the weather and kind of different environment, that type of thing. On the flip side, again, it's not an easy trip from Provo to Greenville. Is it nice to kind of get this one at home and, like you said, with homecoming as well, and then coming to your place?
Yes, this is definitely home field advantage with our fans is one thing, but anytime you got to travel with a team and get everything, all the moving parts that go with it, and come play a game, it makes it challenging. It would probably be even more challenging if it was a noon game. but it's an evening game, which gives them a little bit more time to get themselves together. But if I were traveling out to Provo, then of course there would be concerns that you have. You're traveling, and you have everything that you have to get going 2 weeks in a row, and it'll be a great football team. I'm sure they'll be ready and prepared to play. They're looking forward to playing us. I'm sure.
Okay, thanks, Scottie.
And do you have other questions for Coach Montgomery? Please star 1 on your telephone keypad if so. Well, Coach, for the benefit of some of our regulars who aren't on today's call, if I could just get your thoughts maybe specifically on the matchup with BYU and some of the challenges that they'll pose coming into your stadium.
Yeah, they're a different team than we play a lot. The physical nature that they have in their backfield, we usually see a lot more speed. We're going to do a good job of tackling these guys in the open field. Really liking their secondary, number 23. He plays all over the field. Great tackle in the open space, but also can cover down the field. Gives us a huge challenge because he covers up, any part of the field. If he's in the middle of the field, he can get over to help either corner. And then he does a really good job in open field tackling. So really tough defender back there. Also, defensively in their front, they've given some people some troubles and some problems with not being able to block them in one-on-one situations. Also, they can go out of 3 different fronts. Only they played one game in the front that we saw the whole game, and then we saw a couple other fronts in some other games. So we know that they have the ability to be, multiple as far as their fronts are concerned. So offensively, that worries you quite a bit because you got to know what to be prepared for and what to be ready for.
And we're joined by Coach Philip Montgomery from Tulsa. The Golden Hurricane is 2-5 overall, 1-2 in the American Athletic Conference. Tulsa was in action this past Saturday against Houston. Tulsa won the game 45-17. Up next for the Golden Hurricane will be this Saturday. They'll play at UConn for a noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central Time start. Game televised on ESPNU. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the game against Houston, please, and what you expect to see as you head up to East Hartford to face UConn on Saturday. And do we have Coach on the line? Please stand by. We'll see if we can't get Coach connected.
Coach Montgomery, your line is open.
Hello.
Coach, thanks for joining us on the call. If you would take a minute to tie up the win against Houston, please, and what you expect to see as you head to East Hartford on Saturday to face UConn.
Yeah, I was really proud of our guys. I thought they came out and really competed this week. I thought we played well in all 3 phases. I thought our defense really played well all 60 minutes. It really kept us in the ball game in the first half, and then we finally got some things going there offensively in the second half, and just played with a lot of spirit and a lot of emotion, and like I said, just extremely proud of the way they came out and competed. Major's doing a great job at Houston, and they've got an unbelievable football team, and we felt very fortunate to come out on the right side of this one. As we head up to UConn, really tough opponent. They're playing a lot of young guys like we are, and so those guys are learning and growing just like ours are. Expect obviously an extremely tough test, and we know we got our hands full traveling all the way up there to get it done. So,
we'll take questions for Coach Philip Montgomery. Please star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue, then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Matt Shapansky with the UConn Country.
Hey, Coach. Just wondering what you've seen on film that might give you some challenges from UConn's offense.
Yeah, I think, Rhett, I've known Rhett for a little while now, and he does a great job schematically, and he's going to put his guys in the right spot. They present challenges from the standpoint of trying to be balanced in what they do and giving you some different looks. And so from our side of it, we've got to do a good job of just keeping our eyes in the right spot and keying things correctly and making sure that we're coming to leverage on things.
Thank you.
For the benefit of some of our regulars who aren't on the call, if I could just throw a couple your way, made a change at quarterback this past week. Can you tell us what went into that decision, and is that something that what was the takeaway that you had from it? Obviously, from a big offensive performance against Houston.
Well, we actually made the change, in the first quarter of the Tulane game, and just thought we needed to kind of make a move there, and went ahead and carried that over into this game. We played both guys, and thought they both did a good job when they were in. I thought our offensive line played extremely well, and so I thought Luke came in and kind of gave us a spark, and we'll kind of continue in the same mode that we did last week.
Then the last one I'll throw your way is obviously this will be the first time that Tulsa has played UConn. You were on the staff, I believe, at Baylor when they played up there. Would that be correct?
Yes, yeah. We've and Randy was actually there for those. We played him once up there and once at our place. So he's an outstanding coach. Always does a great job, and you've got to earn everything you get when you're playing his teams. I mean, they're not going to give you any cheap yardage or cheap points, and so you got to be really locked in and focused to what you're doing schematically, and try to dig out yards where you can.
Any other questions for Coach Montgomery? Please star 1 on your telephone keypad, if so.
We'll take our next question from Don Wade from Memphis Daily News.
Yeah, Coach, with Memphis moving into the top 25 this week, you have 3 conference teams in the top 25. You guys just had the big win over Houston. How much depth do you think this league has now?
Well, I've always thought this league's had a ton of depth. I mean, I've been in it now for 3 years, and the quality of players that we have in our league, the quality of coaches that we have in our league, I think this league is really continuing to rise each and every year. And so this is no different. It's no surprise that we've got 3 in the top 25. As you look at who we play in the preseason, and then you look as we get into conference play, they're all tough games, and you got to be really prepared and ready each week. And so it's not surprising to me at all.
And we've been joined by Coach Major Applewhite from Houston. The Cougars 4-2 overall, 2-1 in the American Athletic Conference. Houston was in action this past Saturday at Tulsa. Tulsa won the game 45-17. Up next for Houston will be this Thursday against Memphis at TD-ECU Stadium in Houston, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time start on ESPN. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the game at Tulsa, please, and what you expect to see with a relatively short week Thursday back at home against Memphis, please.
Yeah, disappointed in the way we played the second half. We're really playing great defense in the first half and sputtering offensively, but thought that we had, a good opportunity to go out and play better in the second half. We continued to play great defense, didn't play well in the second half at all on either side of the ball. Didn't take care of the ball and lost control of the game. Excited about the opportunity and everything that stands ahead of us. It's a great opportunity Thursday night against a great football program, a great football team. Conference is still, up in the air, and, but we've got to have the mindset of take one play at a time, one drive at a time, one quarter at a time, and put together a consistent 60 minutes against a really good football team.
We'll take questions for Coach Applewhite, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad to put you in the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Ronnie Woodward with the Greenville Daily Reflector.
Hey, Coach, you touched on it there a little bit, but just the logistics and kind of the opportunity, for your team and the conference to be on ESPN, the primetime Thursday night game. Being a home team in that matchup, too, is there, a special kind of unique opportunity to do that and showcase your team a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's great for both teams, and I think it's great for our conference to be able to be on national television and have the opportunity on Thursday night. And, Memphis has already, represented our conference well, on one Friday night matchup. And so it's a great opportunity for us and our program and our fans and our players to play on national television. Our guys love it. Our conference loves it. So it's another great matchup in our conference on a Thursday night.
And how much different is it than your kind of typical Saturday matchup as far as just practice and logistics, that kind of thing? Do you try to keep it as normal as possible, or is it drastically different?
In terms of your preparation as a coach, everything is just sped up in terms of what you're doing. The players, in terms of practice reps on the field, there's some things you have to be careful of because they're coming off of a game on Saturday. And now, technically, your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practices for a Saturday game are now Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So you have to be, smart about what you're doing on Sunday and Monday, knowing the guys are, in some cases, less than, 24 hours removed from the game, but in our case, more than 24 hours. But, got to be smart about your Sunday and Monday practices, what you're putting on them, physicality-wise, especially paying attention to your roster. But in terms of your preparation as a coach, you're still breaking down the same things. You're working under a faster timetable.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
And we'll take our next question from Phil Stutenborg with Memphis Media.
Hey, Coach. Kind of with that faster timetable you were talking about, what have you learned and how have you tweaked things to kind of get accustomed to playing a non-Saturday game?
Well, we played a bunch of them last year. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think there was close to 3 or 4 Thursday, Friday night matchups. I think we played, we had Cincinnati on a Friday night. We had Connecticut on a Thursday night. We had Louisville on a Thursday night. And then we had Memphis on a Friday. So we've been underneath that schedule a bunch, because of the ESPN opportunities. So, we've done that. Not a lot of changing and tweaking towards it. You just have to look at in terms of your roster and putting pads on and a short week and when you do that and how you do that.
I guess, and as you alluded to before, just the exposure that you get from playing on that night. How do you measure that?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm being dead honest. I don't know how you measure it. I mean, you go in and good things happen because more people are watching that television game, but I don't know if you can really measure it. It's just a great opportunity, to put something forward. You just never know how those things are going to play out and how many viewers you're actually going to have.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Don Wade from Memphis Daily News.
Now, Coach, given that you've got 3 conference teams in the top 25 now, you guys also have a Power 5 win. How much depth do you think there is in the league this year?
The coaching and the talent level, in this league since I've been part of it since 15 has gotten so much better in just a short time span. Top to bottom, this is a difficult conference. You have to be ready to play every week. Doesn't matter who your opponent is, you've got to be ready to play. Everybody can score points, and a lot of really good coaches. So this is a very strong league from top to bottom. You've got to be prepared in this league to play.
You hear a lot about, certain Power 5s that, how tough it would be to go undefeated, but do you think that holds true for this league now too?
Absolutely. I do. I think it's a very difficult, I don't think the champion, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the champion in this league has been undefeated. I know we weren't when we won in 15. I don't believe Temple was last year. So it's hard to get through it unscathed.
And up next is Cincinnati and head coach Luke Fickell. Bearcats are 2-5 overall, 0-3 in the American Athletic Conference. Cincinnati was in action this past Saturday at USF. USF won the game 33-3. And up next for the Bearcats will be this Saturday. They're home against SMU at Nippert Stadium, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time start on ESPNU. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the call today. If you would take a minute to tie up the game at USF, please. And we expect to see Saturday as you're back at home against SMU.
Obviously, last week was a difficult one. Another one on the road at night, and we didn't get the job done. We had some positives, but the play right before half really kind of kicked us right in the side, and probably didn't have a whole lot to. We didn't get a chance to get back after that. So it made it difficult. What else? This week, obviously, excited to get back home. I'm excited not to have a night game. We will face our fourth out of the last 5 opponents that are coming off a bye week, but it is homecoming, and we're excited to be back home.
We'll take questions for Coach Fickell. Please star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. Then the operator will introduce you. Coach, I'll get it started, if I may, just for the benefit of some of our regulars who are attending to our basketball media day today and not on the call today. Can you talk specifically about some of the challenges that SMU poses with their personnel and some of their early season success?
Oh, yeah, they've done a great job. I think they were leading the league in passing. I'm not sure if they still are after being off last week. Had 2 leading receivers that were leading the league in receptions. So that their ability to pick up the pace and move those guys around and obviously give them the football, I think, is where you've seen a lot of their success. Defensively, I think they play really hard. I think they've been challenged too with playing TCU and some of those guys, and I think that you can see what they've done and where they're headed. But all in all, I think it's a very balanced group. I mean, the offense might outshine or get talked about as much as anything from the tempo of the things that they've done, as well as they've thrown the football.
And then last one for me would be some other callers have referenced with some other coaches the relative strength of the American Athletic Conference this season. 3 teams in the top 25 again this week. I know you've mentioned in the past that you had a sense that the conference was strong, but maybe not as strong as it's bearing out this season. Would that be accurate? And is SMU kind of the next in line of a team that kind of fits that mold?
There's no doubt. I mean, I'm very, very, very impressed, not just with the teams, but with the talent and the way the teams play. It's been impressive. And we haven't been on the positive side of that right now, but I think it was not eye-opening, but definitely something that I think that people around the country need to be aware of. And I think that it'll get more and more publicity, the things that's going on, and as we continue to move through the season. But there's no doubt. I haven't been in a lot of different conferences, played a lot of different conference opponents in my 20 years or so, or 20-some years. And I can tell you this is as impressive of a group and teams and balance that I've seen.
And we're joined by USF coach Charlie Strong. The Bulls are 6-0 overall, 3-0 in the American Athletic Conference. USF was in action this past Saturday against Cincinnati. USF won the game 33-3. Up next for the Bulls will be this Saturday. They'll be at Tulane for a 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time start on ESPN2. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the win against Cincinnati, please. And what do you expect as you head to New Orleans to face Tulane on Saturday?
Well, it's always good when you get a win, and when you look at us and just how we played as a team, just offense and defense, we just very average, did a very good job in the kicking game. But you look at our defense, Augie played another outstanding game, had an interception right before half that really got us ignited and got us going. Just didn't get any explosive plays on offense, but our field goal kicker, he was 4 for 4, and our punter did a great job of punting the ball. There's Tulane having a really explosive offense. When you look at him on offense with the quarterback, he's very dynamic with the ball in his hands, and then defensively they give you so many different looks. So we know that whenever you go on the road, you got to play your best and you got to be at your best, and we're going to get their best.
We'll take questions for Coach Strong. Please star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Leo Haggerty with It's Sports Magazine.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Leo, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Coach. Hope you're the same. Coach, you were not happy with your team's performance on Saturday after the game. After watching the film, did that verify your perceptions?
It very much did verify my perception, Leo. And, I just think that you have to come out and you have to be with any game. It's all about your focus, and it's all about you being prepared to play. And you got to get off to a good start, which we didn't. But it's all about us just playing together and playing with some emotion and some passion.
Coach, when watching film at Tulane, what jumps off the film at you about their offense and defense?
Well, you look at him on offense, the quarterback is very dynamic. They do a good job, but just they spread you out. They can throw the ball, then they can spread you out. And they run the option game with it, and they do a really good job of getting the ball on the perimeter. Have some big receivers that is going to be a big matchup problem for us. And then on defense, they just give you so many different looks, and they do a really good job of just containing the quarterback and keeping everything inside and in front of them.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck down at Tulane.
All right. Thank you, Leo.
We'll take our next question from Gary Smith with the New Orleans Advocate.
Hi, coaches. Going into the season ranked with Quentin Flowers back, a lot of attention on your program. You've got to be prepared for every team's best shot each week. How do you feel like your team has handled that to this point?
Well, Gary was 6-0, so we've done a good job. But you always look to improve. You always look to get better, and it is. It's just week by week, and then you just got to be prepared to play that team. But it still goes back to fundamentals and technique, and it's all about just daily improvement.
We'll take our next question from Joey Knight with the Tampa Bay Times.
Coach, they run the triple option, but it's a very unique triple option. What kind of challenge is it to prepare for that type of offense that you may see once a year?
Well, it's always an issue, Joey, because you have to be very disciplined on defense. You have to have a quarterback player, you have to have a dive player, you have to have a pitch player. So it's all about just getting off of blocks, and guys, you got to see it with your eyes, and you can't lose your eyes, because now all of a sudden, you may think the dive has it and the quarterback is pulling it, but it's responsibility. So whatever your responsibility is, take care of it.
And I didn't get a chance to ask you this the other night. You had a season best turnout attendance-wise. What were your thoughts on the crowd?
Well, you love the crowd, and the thing about it, Joey, that's the way it should be, and you like to see even more. But we're getting there, and it's going to be game by game. But we had a great turnout, and appreciate all the people who did come out and watch us play. But we still got a lot, still have some room to grow there, and we can always increase that attendance.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Mark Narducci with the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Coach, I saw you earlier in the year at Temple, and you're 6-0, and the expectations are high. But there's a feeling that maybe his Quentin Flowers kind of had the year you expected, or do you think he's got another gear left in him this year?
Well, he's doing what we asked him to do, Gary, on offense, and he's running the offense. Now, he's not always making the right throws, but we're doing a good job. And when we're sitting there 6-0, the defense is playing better. But you don't have to put it all on his back. And the defense has made what has really helped with that is the giant improvement that the defense has made.
Coach, one other thing about him. His NFL future, are there a lot of people that are looking at him? And if so, is it at quarterback? Do they see him at another position? Or do they think that he could play quarterback at the next level?
Well, I think it just depends on the team. Some see him as quarterback, but, I don't get who. But, we still got a lot of games left here, and he still has some chance to really continue to grow and develop, improve himself.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
We'll take our next question from Joseph Duarte with the Chronicle.
Hey, good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Joseph.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering, I know you got half of a season left, or more than, but when you look, or if you had a chance, what was it about South Florida and the job that was a really good fit for you, and obviously the results have said that, but was there anything that jumped out about that job and being in the American that really caught your eye when you made the decision?
Well, I coached in Gainesville for a number of years, so I had a chance to come down here, and I recruited Tampa, so I had a chance to see the job from afar. But knowing it is, you have a really good recruiting base here. You have an outstanding university and athletic department that is willing to do whatever they can to make those steps and make it the best it possibly can be. So it was, it was just a place that I've been to. So now you have a chance to basically come back home. So it's been an easy transition.
And when you have the start that you have, does that just confirm what you maybe saw from afar on paper or in video as far as the guys and the players that you had coming back that would make up this team?
Well, it's just that Willie did a really great job of recruiting, and there's some really good players here, and guys that have a little edge to them, and guys that love to compete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Don Wade with Memphis Daily News.
Charlie, how good do you think this league is now, and how do you think it even compares maybe depth-wise with some of the Power Fives?
Well, I just noticed, just look at it this way. You look at you look at us, you look at what Central Florida's doing, you look at what Navy's doing, you look at what Memphis. I mean, you got 4 teams there that have been ranked or still are ranked. And you still have Houston, who is a really good ball club. They're sitting out there. Tulsa, still a good ball club. But, it's a very competitive league, and week in and week out, you have to be ready to go play, especially now that we're in the conference play. But it's just it's been great to just sit back and watch this league and how it is developed, and it's probably giving people more than what they expected.
Do you think the rest of the country has caught up to that fact?
Well, I think the rest of the country is making notice, and I think that they're seeing it. And that's the only thing you want to do is just put them on alarm, and I think that they're seeing what's happening within this conference.
And we'll take our next question from Phil Stukenberg with Memphis Media.
Hey, Coach. I was going to ask you, I know you guys played back-to-back weekday games. Temple was one of them last month. I know you have 2 more later this season. What are the challenges of playing on a Thursday or Friday? How do you adjust?
Well, when you get that Thursday, so we were at Thursday, and then we came back and played that Friday. Now it's a short week for you. So when you play that, when you get ready to play, you just get leading up to it. You have to make sure you have enough rest. But still, when you start getting to the end of the season, then guys are. The players don't want to practice anymore, so they're ready to go play the game. So it's almost you get a chance where you play it, then you bounce and you just gotta get your preparation and get enough on the team that you're playing. You have a chance to really scout them.
Is that the most you've played? And you'll have 4 this season. Is that the most you've played in a season?
Oh, it is. It is the most played in the season. Yes.
And how do you rate the exposure? What value does that have to have a night to yourself on ESPN?
Well, that's what's big, and then that's the key is that you're on ESPN and everybody across the country have a chance to watch it. And then when you're really playing well, then you're going to get more viewers and more eyes, and they're going to get a chance to see your football team. But that's a selling point because we may sometimes as coaches we think it's tough because we're just looking at it as, hey, we just played, now we got to go play another one. But the exposure is what's really key.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Speaking about 2 more for Coach John, please.
Our next question from Olivia Stacy with Fan Rag Sports.
Hi, Coach. You mentioned UCF's level of play earlier. With so much excitement around both USF and UCF, is it too early to start looking ahead to that game?
Oh, you can't, Olivia, because we each we have 5. Well, we play 4 before we ever get to them. So much can happen, and you see how just college football is week in and week out. So what's key is this: make sure that your whole total focus is on the next game, and you can't look down the line at all.
And that has been your mantra this entire season. How have you kept your team focused on that mentality, on just looking to the next game ahead?
Well, you got to make it about the opponent, and then you got to make it about us going out and playing well. And saying when you make it about that, then the players they tend to focus and lock in because for no reason do you ever look ahead because I just don't think that you will get what you need out of your players as far as the practice, as far as the development, as those different preparations. So it's always key to just make it the next game. That's the only thing we'll worry about the next game.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And
we'll take our last question. Our question from Gary Smith with New Orleans Advocate.
Dontrell Hilliard has been Tulane's most consistent running back. He's in the top 10 all time in schools rushing. What are your impressions of him and what makes him tough?
Well, he's strong and he's physical and he runs behind his pads. And the thing he does is, he can move the chains, and that's what you like. And then he's explosive enough where he can run away from people. And that's what you look for in a running back. And they have him a really good one. He is a really good back.
Thank you.
Up next is Temple and head coach Geoff Collins. Owls are 3-4 overall, 1-3 in the American Athletic Conference. We're in action this past Saturday against UConn. UConn won the game 28-24. Up next for Temple will be this Saturday. They'll be at Army for a noon Eastern time start on CBS Sports Network. Coach, thank you for joining us on the call today. If you would take a minute to tie up the game against UConn, please, and we expect to see you head up to West Point on Saturday to face Army.
Absolutely, yeah. Still still hurting from the loss. Had a good practice this morning. The UConn game on Saturday, our kids, played hard. They fought. I think we outgained them almost, double the yardage, but just had too many penalties and, some critical penalties, that really hurt us, especially in the last 11 minutes of the game. Had a block in the back on a really good punt return, with 8 minutes left. And then we had an offsides on 3rd and 7 that created a 3rd and 2. We got the stop. We forced the field goal. They missed the field goal, but 23 precious seconds ran off the clock because of that penalty, and then we were probably a couple seconds short on the drive to finish the game on the 2-minute drill. So things to learn from. A bunch of young kids played. They played really hard, and so we just got to regroup. Regroup fast because, Army's a great team, having a really good season again and, playing at their place, against a tough physical opponent. You got to have your A game, and I have full faith in our senior leaders, our single digits, to make sure that we're ready, along with this coaching staff, ready to play a really good Army team, that's good on all three phases of the game.
Take questions for Coach Collins, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. The operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Mark Narducci with the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hey, Geoff, are you able to give us any kind of update on Leon Johnson?
Yeah, he's, the second play of the game, he went down with an ankle, and it was the opposite ankle of what it had hobbled him in the past. But he's a tough kid. He's just like a lot of our guys, trying to do everything he can to get back and to get healthy. Was really proud of James McHale, who stepped in for Leon when he went down the second play. Hadn't played a lot of football since he's been here, and came in to replace a guy that started a lot of games for us over the course of his career in Leon. And I thought he fought and he battled. And same thing for Vincent Picozzi, who's had to replace Joe Von Fair for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Just the experience they're getting as young players, and moving the ball well, on offense. So, hopefully Leon will be ready and to go on Saturday. He's trying his hardest.
Coach, I know the answer is always every game's the most important game and all that, but this one with Army will have a lot to say whether you can become bowl eligible or not. Do you discuss any of that with the team at all, or just focus on, hey, let's beat Army?
Yeah, that's all we're talking about. We just talk about going 1-0 every single week, trying to get better as a football team every single week. And aside from the penalties and a pick six and a fumble recovery down to the 7, I thought the kids played hard. I thought they played well. Just had probably 4 or 5 critical errors that cost us the game. And so we're just trying to go 1-0, fix our mistakes. Get the young kids to understand that every single game against good football teams is critical. Every single play is critical. And, I think they're realizing that. So we're getting a lot of young guys a lot of experience.
As a coach, is it almost tougher to get to pick this team up because Saturday was such a tough loss?
No, I think that, they were hurting after the game, especially the older players. But, they still have, very clear memories of what happened the opening game of the year last year against Army. So they understand the challenge. I think they're excited about playing such a tough physical team. But they remember last year, so you don't have time against somebody that runs in the triple option to be in your feelings. You got to be ready to go, and we understand this is going to be a 60-minute battle. If it needs to be more, it has to be more. But our kids are resilient, and they'll be ready to bounce back and put up a fight.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Joseph Duarte with the Chronicle.
Hey, good morning, Geoff. I'm working on a story on Ed Oliver, and obviously he only played one quarter against you guys, but I was wondering from a preparation standpoint, and when you're getting ready to face a player like that, what challenges does he present? Absolutely. He's only a sophomore.
Sure. I was in the SEC for 7 years. The thing that differentiates the SEC from every other league in college football is the elite defensive tackles. And, the elite defensive tackles, if they can change the game, that's why the SEC historically has been so dominant. And I think Ed is that kind of player. He has that kind of presence. He has the ability to change a football game from that position. And if you can do that, you're a special player. You're a dynamic player. So we have the utmost respect of him. Going into the game, we made sure we knew where he was on every single snap. And a lot of times you don't, most times you're worried about an elite defensive end and an elite linebacker, or you have to worry about an elite interior defensive lineman. That hats off to the kid and hats off to who he is as a player.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Sean Castor with Owls Daily.
Hey, Sean.
Hi, Geoff. Yeah, I wanted to ask on both sides of the wall about the red zone in that UConn game. UConn had they were able to inside the 10. They were able to shake receivers free for 3 touchdowns. Just what did kind of not get done defensively on those plays?
Sure. The one that plays, we gave too much ground in the red zone, which you can't do. We talk about all the time. You got to build you got to set a wall and set a fence. You can't back up into the end zone. There was one time they gave a reduced split. Instead of been pressed, we played, off and kind of rubbed each other, which you can't do down there. And then, when you get in the red zone, you got to shut the door. You got to stop. You can't let them in, regardless of the situation, whether they drive 80 yards to get down there or whether it's a turnover and the ball ends up on the 7. You still got to put the ball down and stop them, and that's the mentality. And then they had a back shoulder fade, which was a perfect throw, a perfect catch against really tight coverage by Linwood Crump. But the kid made a really nice back shoulder throw and catch. So they got us on that one as well.
Okay, and then on the other side, you in particular, the team had trouble running the ball inside. There were a couple of short yardage, whether it was Wright on 4th and 1 or Raquel when you're at
right,
3.
And that was late in the game. And once you get down there, going into the game, the run game was there. They adjusted the coverage, adjusted the fronts, which was a good job by them. But once you get down there and you're that close, you got 3 downs to score, you got to score. So that's been a challenge to our guys. They understand it, and know we got to get better at that part of the game. And once you get down there, you got to get 7. You can't just settle for 3.
Okay, and last quick thing I wanted to ask, I noticed Eastern Michigan, when they just played Army last week, they had 3 possessions in the second half. And just as a coaching staff, their preparation, I think it was 15 possessions in that UConn game, but how different a game it is strategically for you to try to, when you get into the upper back of this kind of game.
Absolutely. And then, if you take away, there's 2 games that are kind of outliers for the number of offensive plays against Army's defense. But if you take the rest of the games, offenses are averaging just a little over 50 plays a game. So we understand that the possessions might be limited, but it's our job to, on the defensive side of the ball, to try to force 3 and outs, try to create turnovers, and then on offense, whenever we get possession, we have to keep possession. We got to move the ball and get down and get some points. And so that's been the focus, the last 2 days of preparation.
Okay, thanks.
Take one more for Coach Collins, please.
Our next question from Tom Ignudo with the Temple News.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Geoff. How are you?
Good.
I know you were talking about Leon earlier in the call, but you said you're hoping to get him back. Do you think he's close to playing this week, or is it just going to be a game time decision type of situation?
Well, yeah, we're hoping before, hopefully by Wednesday or Thursday, we'll have a clear picture of it. He's one of our seniors. He's one of our leaders. He's doing anything and everything to get himself healthy, to get himself ready to play. Because he's a great teammate for his teammates, so he wants to get out there and play. And so he's working. Rock's working. Rock didn't have one single practice snap last week. It started feeling much better on Friday, and then he woke up Saturday morning and felt that he was ready to go, and played some meaningful snaps. Very unselfish of him. We've got a lot of guys on this team that have a lot of fight in them. They really care about this program. They really care about this team, and they're doing anything and everything that they can do to contribute. So just my hats off to them, and hats off to the young guys that are stepping in to replace such good players. And how they're fighting, how they're preparing, not knowing if they're going to get a ton of snaps or a few snaps, but just hats off to all the guys involved.
And also, is Jovan any closer to getting back? I know you said last week you were hoping that.
Still hoping. He's a tremendous player, and a tremendous asset to the offensive line. So obviously we want him back. He's a great player for us. But whoever's in there is going to play, and we're expecting them to play at a high level. And so that's where we are at every position on the team, regardless of injuries.
And just after the game against UConn on Saturday, Dave said that Todd Centeio was going to redshirt this season. Can you just confirm that he is redshirting this season?
Yeah, and that's been the plan for a while. And obviously can't rule anything out. But he's been down there doing a great job with the scout team. Has such a great attitude. He's such a competitor. We played Monday night football. We just got done playing Monday night football. The other days when we practice on Sunday, we have Sunday night football, and he's out there competing, running around, great attitude, and so really proud of him and proud of his development.
Up next, we go to Memphis and head coach Mike Norvell. The Tigers are 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the American Athletic Conference. Memphis is in action this past Saturday against Navy. Memphis won the game 30-27. Up next will be a relatively short week for the Tigers. They'll take on Houston Thursday on the road, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on ESPN. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today. Take a minute to tie up the game against Navy, and we expect to see you head to Houston Thursday to face the Cougars.
Most definitely. Saturday was a huge win for our program. It was a game against one of the top programs consistently in the American Conference. Very well-disciplined, physical, explosive Navy team. I thought our kids went out and they battled for 60 minutes. They played with relentless effort, and it was a complete team effort to be able to secure that victory. Our defense held them under 100 yards under their rushing average. We created 5 takeaways. Our offense did a good job in converting with opportunities. And I thought special teams did a nice job. We had a couple big field goals there late to end up securing the game. And really proud of our football team. We don't get to celebrate it very long. We got a short week with Houston coming up this Thursday night. We have to go on the road. This is a matchup that over the last 3 years, each of them have been decided by one score. This is a very talented and also explosive Houston team that's coming off a game that looked very similar to our game when we went to Central Florida. So we know that they're gonna come out. We're gonna get their absolute best, and we've got to prepare to be able to put ourselves in a position to be successful.
As remiss, I did not mention Austin Hall as the Conference's Defensive Player of the Week, but I want to make sure I got that in as well. I'll take questions for Coach Mike Norvell. Please star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue, then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Don Wade with the Memphis Daily News.
Hey, Mike. The commissioner has talked about this league as kind of being the sixth Power 5 conference. You feel like what the teams have done on the field to this point have proved that out?
You know, I know that we have an unbelievably competitive league, and you look at the teams, you know, the non-conference schedules that we play, the success that we have achieved. It's a great league to be a part of, and I know every program is continuing to build. We've got great coaches, phenomenal athletes, and you know, whenever you put that combination together, I think that it definitely demands national respect, and that's what we're starting to see.
And two, not just having three teams in the top 25 right now, but if you look at some of the national statistics, 4 teams in the top 13 in scoring offense, U and USF right up there at the top, and turnovers gained. Is that just further proof of how good the league is?
Yeah, you know, it's you know, you see the explosiveness, and you know, there's so many variations of what teams do offensively, defensively, special teams, and whenever you're able to do that with great players, you know, it provides a wonderful product to watch. And you know, every week as a coach, it is a challenge because you know this league top to bottom, you know, everybody can jump up and beat the top teams, and then you know, obviously the competition, you know, at that level is extreme. So it is like I said, it's a wonderful league, and you know, we're able to do it with some phenomenal players.
Thanks.
We'll take our next question from Joseph Duarte with the Houston Chronicle.
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Joseph, how you doing?
Good. I was wondering, from a preparation standpoint, I'm doing something on Ed Oliver, and you guys faced him last year. What challenges does a guy that plays the defensive tackle position like that present in terms of, you know, what you see on film, and then having to actually send your guys out there on game day?
You know, I think Ed's a phenomenal player. You know, he's a guy that probably the most impactful player in our league, I'd say. Just for the attention that he demands. You know, he makes plays sideline to sideline. You know, he's to play defensive tackle and to see the effort which he plays the game. You can tell he's an extremely passionate young man. You have to account for him on every play, and you know, whenever you have a player like that surrounded by other top quality players like they have on their defense, it definitely presents challenges. So you know, it is something that we're going through right now in our preparation for Thursday, but you know, he is a wonderful player.
As a team, is it difficult with Houston because you see what they did against SMU, and then you see this Saturday's game, to gauge kind of exactly what team they are?
No, I mean, I know what kind of team they are, and you could see the body of work that they've had throughout this season this is a extremely athletic, highly explosive, you know, well-coached team. And for us to go in this week, having to go on the road, we know that we're going to have, it's going to be an absolute dogfight for 60 minutes in Houston Thursday night, because you know, the game against Tulsa really reminds me a lot of the game that we had you know, down in Orlando a few weeks back, where you know, we turned the ball over, you know, made some mistakes. It was a close game throughout, but then kind of got away from them at the end, much like our game you did you know, a few weeks back. And so this is something that you know, it provides every football team an opportunity. And I think you've seen that across college football, that there are sometimes you don't go out there and play to the best of what your ability is, but then you have to respond. And that's something that we're working towards as a team, and I know that that Houston is as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Brian Moss with TigerSportsReport.com.
Hey, Coach, if you could talk about Coach Ball and the rest of the defensive staff, the job that they're doing to keep these guys, you know, focused and ready with the ongoing, you know, the injuries that they've had on defense and other things. If you could talk about the defensive coaching staff.
Yeah, you know, I think they've done an exceptional job. You know, the effort, the technique, the fundamentals that were shown there this past week were incredible against a very unique offense and presentation. The kids, you know, they truly believed in what they're being asked to do, and you know, Coach Ball's had to mix some things around. with different personnel. We've had some newcomers that have had to step up, and they don't. Nobody on our head is, or nobody on our team is thinking thinking anything less than what our job is, or anything. Not trying to hang their head or worry about who we don't have. We're focused solely on the guys that are running out on that field and playing with great effort, and trying to make an impact in this game. And so our kids are definitely doing a phenomenal job, and we got great leadership on that side of the ball. And we're just looking to continue to get better as these guys get more and more experience.
And Jannard Avery playing at defensive end, can we see more of that in the future, or was that just a matchup thing against Navy?
It's something. Jannard's been able to. He's such a versatile athlete that he can line up in a variety of spots. We played him exclusively there this past week. We feel like we can move him around. We did a little bit of that against UConn as well. And so each week we're going to look at it and see how we can get our best matchups.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Up next is UCF and head coach Scott Frost. The Knights are 5-0 overall, 3-0 in the American Athletic Conference. UCF was in action this past Saturday against ECU, and UCF won the game 63-21. Up next for UCF will be this Saturday. They'll be at Navy for a 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time start, game televised on CBS Sports Network. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the call. If you take a minute to tie up the performance against ECU, please, and we expect to see you as you head to Annapolis to face Navy on Saturday.
Yeah, we're excited to go up there. The last game, I thought our kids have done a great job this year coming out ready to play in every game, and I think they did a good job of that again. Navy's a unique challenge, and everybody that plays them knows that. It's still football, and we're going to practice and prepare like we always have. I got a lot of respect for Ken and also the Naval Academy and who they are and what they stand for. So we're excited to go up there and play and looking forward to a great game.
We'll take questions for Coach Frost. Please star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Leo Haggerty with It's Sports Magazine.
Good afternoon, Coach.
How we doing?
Doing fine. Thanks for asking. Coach, your offense has been hitting on all cylinders the last few games. What do you attribute that success to?
I think hard work and preparation. This offense has come a long way in a year and a half. Being down here in Orlando and around all these recruits certainly helps. I think we've filled some holes with some really dynamic football players and a lot of young ones that are playing really well. But these guys really went to work in the off season, learning and knowing the system and working in the weight room and running, and we look like a different team out there than we did a year ago. So I'm really happy that the guys have put in all the work and that our strength coaches did as good a job as they did.
Coach, from a defensive standpoint, is there a harder team to prepare for than Navy because you just don't see this every week?
I think that's the key to it is trying to get ready for something that's a little bit different in a week. Now we put in quite a bit of work in spring ball and in fall camp trying to get the guys ready and at least familiar with what we're going to ask them to do. But it's still a limited number of practices you have to go against it, and you can't really replicate the speed and precision they do things with. Our guys are excited about this. This is going to be a really good football game, and they're playing really well this year. But our guys are excited to go up there and play this one.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck in Annapolis this weekend.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Bill Wagner with Baltimore Sun Media Group.
Hey, Coach. You all have one of the greatest turnarounds in the country this year as far as improvement. Anything in particular you can point to as to why you all have improved so much over last year?
I just think everything's kind of gone as planned and exceeded our plans. One thing I keep mentioning, I took over this place and it was 0-12. I think that, just a lot of things happened to make them go 0-12, but when I met with the players that were here, they were confident. They believed they could accomplish a lot more than that. I think they were excited for kind of a new way of doing things so that they could show people that they were better than what that record showed. And we took a big step last year, and I knew we were going to be better this year, but really this team has come together.
we're really tight knit team down here, and the guys are playing for each other and having a lot of fun playing football, and I think that's accelerated the improvement.
Being nationally ranked and in the thick of the race for the American Athletic Conference Championship, would you say you're ahead of schedule?
You know, I just don't like to put, titles on it like that. I took this job because I knew that we could build something pretty special down here. UCF has so much to offer, and the community of Orlando has so much to offer. There's so many good players right around here that love the game. I knew that if we did things the right way, that we could win here, and it's happened that way. But I have a great staff, and these kids are really playing for each other and together, and we're not going to worry about the rankings or how far toward our end goal we are. We're just going to take these games one game at a time, and we have a really big one this week.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Don Wade with Memphis Daily News.
Yes, Scott. Week to week, what's the toughest thing about navigating this league schedule, given how much depth there seems to be?
This is a really good league. You have to be at your best every week to beat the teams in this league. I've said before, but I think you can tell how good a league it is by how many of these teams knock off Power 5 teams, and also the fact that there seems to be a different team or two at the top of this league every year. So it shows you that a lot of places can get it done. I think there's really good coaching in this league and really good talent and a bunch of different schemes because of the good coaching. So you have to prepare for different things every week, and it's tough to play all those different teams week in and week out. So you got to have your guys ready, and you have to play well every single time you go out.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from David Driver with the Sports Exchange.
Thanks. Coach, talk a little bit about the special teams and specifically Matt Wright, your kicker, just, obviously one of the top kickers in the country. What have you seen in him since you've been there?
Yeah, I've been on teams that don't have a good kicker, and it's hard. When you have a guy that you trust to get his job done, it makes it real easy, and it takes pressure off the coaches and off the offense. We walked in and inherited Matt, and he's not just a good football player. He's a really good student, really good person, majoring in aerospace engineering, which is neat to see. Overall, I think our special teams are playing really well because we have better athletes, getting really good coaching from Coach DeWitt. But Matt's definitely a weapon and an asset for us, and we're glad he's here.
Thank you.
And we're joined by Tulane coach Willie Fritz. Doing, as we said, the Green Wave 3-3 overall, 1-1 in the American Athletic Conference. Tulane was in action this past Saturday at Florida International. FIU won the game 23-10. Up next for Tulane will be this Saturday. They'll take on USF at Yulman Stadium, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the game at FIU and what you expect to see is return home on Saturday to face USF, please.
Yeah, disappointing game for us. Hats off to FIU. They really did a good job schematically in all three areas and played extremely well. And we didn't make the plays when we needed to. They kind of flipped the script on us and controlled the ball and the clock throughout much of the game. When you get on the road, you got to make sure you're on point. And I didn't feel like we played one of our better games, but this week we need to make sure we do because we're playing one of the top teams in the country. South Florida is, probably didn't get as much credit as it deserves defensively. Got great defense, one of the top rush defenses in the nation, and obviously everybody knows about their great offense and scoring points and putting up a lot of yards, both rushing and throwing the football. So going to be a big challenge for us here at home.
We'll take questions for Coach Fritz, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue, then the operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Derek Sharp with USF Radio.
First time these teams have played, Coach, and I know a lot of USF fans are making the trip, and probably none of them have been to that stadium. From what I've seen on TV, it looks like a great, cool stadium. Could you sort of just explain the vibe there and what it's like to play there?
Yeah, it's really a good on-campus stadium. It sits right in the middle of campus. It's in the uptown area of New Orleans. Seats right at 30,000. Not only are we located on campus, but right behind us is a neighborhood, and I think it's a really great venue for college football. Every seat is a really good seat.
Another thing, I know it's going to get brought up in Tampa. Sean King, of course, on the staff at USF, was quarterback at Tulane. I know Tulane wasn't on your radar back then, but are there any signs or whatnot of Sean still around? Do you remember anything about him being quarterback way back then?
Oh yeah, he's a hero here at Tulane. He had a great career. I know quite a few guys. I don't think I've ever met Sean personally. Certainly not since I got the job here at Tulane, but I know a lot of the guys that played on the 98 team. He's a Hall of Famer here, and there's everybody speaks very, very highly of him, and that's kind of the team everybody points to here at Tulane, the 98 undefeated team.
Great. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Leo Haggerty with It's Sports Magazine.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Coach, USF is a scoring machine, as you alluded to earlier. They're putting up 30 points at least in 23 consecutive games, so you would assume, and this is no slight to your defense, that they'll probably hit that mark again. Is it hard to game plan from an offensive standpoint with the thought that you need at least 30 points just to stay in the game?
It does make it difficult. They're a high-powered offense, and we're going to have to get points out of our possessions. We can't just 3 and outs and punt the ball, and you got to get the clock running. Sometimes you may not score points, but you move the ball, you go ahead and run a bunch of clock off, and you're making a long field for their offense now. And if you don't stop them on the first set of downs, maybe you do on the second set of downs, and make them play with 80, 85 yards instead of playing with 60 or 55 yards. So yeah, it's you got to match them. You can't get too far behind with our style of offense. It makes it difficult for us if we get too many scores behind.
Coach, last year you could get in an offensive slugfest with USF because their defense was the weak link. Now it's the main cog in the machine. After watching film, what are you seeing that the Bulls are doing on defense this season that are making them so successful and so tough?
Well, number one, they got great players. I think Coach Strong has done a fantastic job of building on the personnel that they've got. And I'm sure they recruited a really good classes as well. I'm not real familiar with what they ran a year ago, so I can't really say too much about that. But they mix up what they're doing up front, and they got the athletes in the back end where they can play a little bit of zone, but they can also play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and we're expecting to see a lot of that on Saturday.